what makes the SAS one of the deadliest special forces in the world. For decades, their missions have been shrouded in secrecy, their tactics unmatched, and their legend unstoppable. From daring raids deep behind enemy lines to hostage rescues that shock the world, the SAS has become the gold standard of special operations. But what's the truth behind the myth?
Over.
Formed in the fires of World War II, the SAS has operated in nearly every major conflict involving Britain, North Africa, the jungles of Southeast Asia, the deserts of Iraq, and the mountains of Afghanistan. Today, we'll uncover how this elite force overcame impossible odds, redefined warfare, and became the shadow warriors we know today. And stick around, because there's one moment in SAS history that nearly ended their story forever. Welcome back to the war. The year is 1941. The British Army is locked in a brutal struggle against Rommel's Afrika Korps in the unforgiving sands of North Africa. David Sterling, a young and unconventional officer, hatches a plan to create a small, mobile unit capable of striking deep behind enemy lines. His idea was revolutionary, but the High Command was skeptical. The first SAS mission in November 1941 was a baptism of fire. Tasked with parachuting into enemy-held territory to destroy German aircraft, the mission was a disaster. Sandstorms disorientated the men, their explosives malfunctioned, and nearly half the team was killed or captured. But Sterling refused to give up. He adapted, switching to using jeeps for high-speed raids across the desert. By 1942, the SAS had destroyed over 250 enemy aircraft, supply depots and fuel dumps, crippling Rommel's logistics and giving the British a critical advantage. Their operations weren't just about destruction, they were about deception. The SAS planted fake mines and staged false attacks, forcing the Germans to spread their forces thin across the desert. The SAS proved that a small, agile unit could wreak havoc on a much larger enemy force. But what made these tactics so revolutionary? It wasn't just their audacity, it was the precision of the planning. By 1944, the SAS was operating in a very different environment. The dense forests and towns of Nazi-occupied Europe. As part of Operation Overlord, SAS teams parachuted into France ahead of the D-Day landings. Their mission: sabotage German supply lines, ambush reinforcements, and support local resistance fighters. One legendary operation was Operation Leuthen. SAS teams infiltrated deep into the Vosges mountains to disrupt German troop movements. But as the mission dragged on, they found themselves hunted by overwhelming enemy forces. Cut off and low on supplies, they resorted to guerrilla tactics, striking swiftly and disappearing into the forest. But not everyone made it out. Nearly half the unit was killed or captured. Some were executed by the Gestapo, a chilling reminder of the risks these men faced. The SAS efforts during the liberation of Europe proved their value once again. They had tied down thousands of German troops, preventing them from reinforcing Normandy during the critical first days of the invasion. After World War II, the SAS was disbanded. with many believing their role was no longer needed. But by the late 1940s, communist insurgencies were spreading across British Empire. In Malaya, the SAS was revived to fight a new kind of war, jungle warfare. Operating in four-man teams, they tracked insurgents through the dense rainforest, often surviving on minimal supplies for weeks at a time. Their tactics were ruthless but effective, ambushing enemy camps, cutting off supply lines, and gathering intelligence. The SAS wasn't just deployed in Malaya. They later applied these same skills in Borneo during the Indonesian confrontation and in Oman during the Dhofar rebellion. Each mission refined their expertise in unconventional warfare, but it was in Oman that the SAS faced one of their toughest battles, storming the Jebel Akhdar, a rebel stronghold perched on a near vertical cliff. How did they pull it off? One moment cemented the SAS in the public consciousness: the Iranian Embassy Siege in 1980. When armed militants stormed the embassy in London, the world watched as hostages were taken. After days of tense negotiations, the SAS were called in. What followed was textbook counter-terrorism operation. In a matter of minutes, black-clad operators smashed through the windows, detonated stun grenades, and neutralised the terrorists with surgical precision. The operation was broadcast live, shocking audiences worldwide. What made the SAS so effective was their ability to adapt their training to urban environments. From jungle warfare to counter-terrorism, they showed they could handle any situation. The SAS have been deployed in nearly every major conflict involving Britain since World War II. In Northern Ireland, they conducted covert surveillance and counter-insurgency during the Troubles. In the Falklands War, operating behind enemy lines to sabotage Argentine forces and gather intelligence. In the Gulf War, hunting Scud missile launchers deep in the Iraqi desert during Operation Desert Storm. And later on, in Afghanistan and Iraq, leading raids, capturing high-value targets and training local forces. Which modern war do you think posed the greatest challenge for the SAS? Let us know in the comments. The SAS selection process is legendary for its intensity. Candidates endure weeks of physical and mental challenges, including a 40-mile march with a heavy pack and brutal survival phase where they're hunted by instructors. But the real secret to the SAS's success isn't just their training, it's their mindset. Who dares wins isn't just a motto, it's a philosophy. SAS operators are taught to think independently, adapt on the fly, and never give up, no matter how impossible the odds. And yet, despite their success, the SAS remains one of the most secretive units in the world. Why? The answer lies in their mission. They don't just fight wars, they prevent them. From the deserts of North Africa to the mountains of Afghanistan, the SAS has proved time and time again that a small, highly trained force can change the course of history. Their legacy is one of innovation, bravery, and a relentless drive to succeed against all odds. What do you think is the most impressive operation in SAS history? Hi soldiers, Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to check back in again soon. That's an order.